Welcome to the Edge DFS. My name is Tyson Smith, joined by Ellie Hernandez. As usual, we're doing Showdown for Draftkings. This week, Monday Night Football, Raiders versus the Chargers, Week 4. Ellie, what's going on with you, man? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, bro. Just enjoying the day, getting ready for the Showdown slate. Actually pretty excited to have a decent primetime game. I think the Raiders are probably one of the more surprising teams in the NFL, being undefeated. And wait, are they undefeated? No. Yeah.
They beat the Dolphins, but barely.
Yeah.
that game looked bad for them to start, though. It was not a good start for them, and they overcame a lot to win that game.
Yeah, my brother's roommate, he's a huge Raiders fan, so obviously the Cardinals game was in the morning, so we watched that one afterwards. It was a pretty fun game to watch.
It was. It went late too. It was a long ass game. All right, well, and we got the Chargers. So the Chargers beat Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City last week. Now that game could have went either way, but typically a game like that goes to Kansas City. Patty Mahomes threw a bad pick there in the fourth quarter. They drove down, and Mike Williams scored a touchdown there, his second touchdown of the game, to basically seal it.
It's good to see Mike Williams healthy, man. I wanted to see him healthy and actually have a chance to play a season.
Well, it's really interesting because we've always been big on Mike Williams. Last year, I always try to fit him in as much as I can, and sometimes it paid off, but more often than not, it didn't because he just wasn't very consistent. And obviously injuries with him. There's always injuries going on with him. And now he's one of the highest priced players on the slate. He has four touchdowns this year. He's crushing. But I think that actually really helps us on this slate because I'm more likely to fade him. I think he'll kind of land back at where he should be. And this might be the game that it happens. And when we look at Keenan Allen's price, it's crazy, the difference in pricing between Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. We know that Keenan Allen is the guy, and the targets even reflect that. It's just Mike Williams has that big playability, and it worries me not to have him at captain in this matchup. But dude, the pricing on this is very, very difficult. Just messing around with some of these builds. The Tampa Bay, the Brady return game, the show we did, the last show we did, that was kind of hard to build. But I think this is actually, you have to make tougher decisions. And there's not a lot of good value that I'm confident with. So, I don't know. What do you think about this matchup in general? It's going to be fun. Monday night, you got Gruden, you got the Chargers in LA. It should be a fun game to watch. And I hope it's a high-scoring game.
Yeah, this should be a pretty decently scoring game. I mean, I think the Raiders are the number one offense in the NFL right now by yards. I think it's the Bucks and the Cardinals tied for first from a points perspective. They're at 34.7. But this should be a pretty explosive game. And then Justin Herbert, the dude's been balling out since he got into the league. So I just expect this to be a shootout. It's going to be fun overall. But, from a DFS strategy perspective, I think we're starting to get into more efficiently priced slates. Like we started to see that last year when you got teams like, the Chiefs and the Bucks, for example, right? I know it's Super Bowl, but you're going to have all these high priced players where you got to fade somebody that you may not normally fade on the slate where it's uncomfortable to fade them. And tonight, I think that's really kind of what we're going to have to look for is guys that we're comfortable with not having in our lineups and still hoping that we can get to some kind of optimal score. It's going to be interesting. I'm with you, man. I'm not comfortable with a lot of the value on this slate.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much have a good idea of where the ball's going now by week 4. And, these guys there's studs all the way around on both sides of the offense that are going to get a certain amount of volume. So it's going to be tough sledding trying to build for this one.
Lately, if you've watched the show, we've been going sort of a stars and scrubs, middle priced to higher priced guys at captain. and jamming in a $200 guy, jamming in a $1,200 guy, and making it work. I don't know if that's the way to do it with this particular slate. Now, we do have some good value to talk about, but I think the way to go maybe is in the flex with some of these middle range price guys. Like you got Bryan Edwards, you got Ruggs, you got Renfro, you got the tight ends on. You got Jared Cook, right? Yeah, I don't know why I just blanked on that. You got Jared Cook, he's middle price. So I think that might be the way to go. Like the pricing is actually really good for those type of guys and what their ceiling can be. So we'll get to that, we'll get to that lineup build. That's where everything kind of comes together and we really sort of figure things out. But before we go on, throw us a like, guys, subscribe. We're doing this for every showdown slate. We also have a podcast version of this, so if you're not able to watch, we're going to make sure I'll be a little bit more descriptive when it comes to the podcast side of things, so we're calling everything out so you're not in the dark when we're building lineups. But let's just jump right over into the matchup. So Vegas traveling to LA. Quick little trip there. Weather should be good as usual. Chargers are minus 168. And this is a decent total here. I hope this is a shootout, and it should be. There's not a whole lot of defense going on here, to be honest. So Chargers 3.5 point favorites at home. I actually think that the Chargers, I know that the Raiders are good, but I feel like the Chargers are so much better, and they just have a more well-rounded team. Thoughts on this matchup here? Do you agree with this line? Does anything jump out to you? Are you going to do any betting straight up, or are you going to stick with props this week?
I'll probably stick with props. I had a nice little parlay hit on the Thursday night game, so I'll probably do
was that like a
game parlay.
That was like an 8?
Yeah, it was
like 8 or
I
7?
think it was an 8 parlay. I had over 44.5, and then what was it? I don't even remember the teams who played, dude, but I had one to cover plus 7, and then I had the
Bengals
team that
and Jacksonville.
Yeah, Bengals and Jacksonville, right? So I had James Robinson touchdown, Joe Mixon touchdown, and then the thing was I needed to hit the 44.5 over.
Yeah.
But I also needed Jacksonville to lose by 3 points at least. So
it worked out.
That field goal saved my ass. But anyways, yeah, I'll probably do something similar here. I think this would be a good game to pack up or stack up on the parlay. It's nice because you can just pick over Derek Carr. You can pick over 240 yards and stack it with Justin Herbert over 250. Right? That's individually they're not great, but you start stacking a couple of things that you're pretty sure are going to happen. It can turn into money. But anyways, for this game, I'm with you. I think this is probably going to be a Chargers win. Generally, with division rivalries, you kind of just assume the home team's going to take it away. And Vegas is good. But starting the season 4-0 is not an easy task.
Yeah.
So I get that they're performing well, but they've had some really close calls, and they've taken those games. But you can only do that so often. In a season, you're going to end up losing one or two of those. So,
yeah,
probably going with the Chargers on this one.
One thing that's tough to judge with Vegas is in these primetime games, they actually usually step up and they're pretty impressive for whatever reason. So I think it gives them a little bit of a boost. I know I'm probably reading into it, but just all the primetime games that we've covered with the Raiders, they always seem to just play a little bit better. I don't know what that is. I don't know why, but like Waller balls out. Carr usually has a pretty good game. So it's going to be tough just right off the bat. I think I would take the Chargers straight up in this game, but I think it's going to be close. I think it could go either way. Yeah. So let's look at injuries here. There are really no injuries to talk about that affects the fantasy side of things, except for Josh Jacobs. So Jacobs has been out for a minute. He's been out for 2 games. He had a pretty good game the first week, and he was still dealing with that turf toe injury. So he's been out. He's been out for 2 weeks. He's questionable. Now, at the time of recording, there's no news that is coming out. So if anything's changed, look down in the comments. I'll have immediately posted anything that's changed with Josh Jacobs. And I really hope he does play because I think he's 7,600. Let me see. He's 7,600. If he plays, I'm going to be all over him. I'm going to be absolutely all over him. If he doesn't play, it opens up a little bit of value. You got Peyton Barber at 6,800. I mean, he had a great game last week. I don't know if he can replicate that again. And then you got Kenyon Drake at 5,400. They don't really excite me much. I'd rather pay up an extra $800 over Peyton Barber and get Josh Jacobs reasonably healthy. He had the same injury week 1, and obviously it affected him enough to be out 2 weeks, but I don't think they wanted to rush him back. If he's active, I think he'll be at 80% or whatever it is. He'll be out there playing a lot of snaps. I don't think they're going to hold him back. So thoughts on this Josh Jacobs injury? Are you hoping he plays, or are you hoping he sits?
I'm an Alabama fan, so I'm always hoping these guys play. Josh Jacobs is a stud, dude. And at 7,800, I think he becomes a clear option. Captain, flex, whatever.
Yeah.
I love him. So I'm kind of hoping he does play. It's going to take a little bit of stress off me trying to find some more mid-range price guys. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And I think it spreads the ownership out quite a bit if he plays. I think it makes things a little bit easier. You're not so concentrated on the high end with ownership.
Right.
Now, Kenyon Drake, he's the guy that's getting targets out of the backfield. Peyton Barber, back from the dead. I mean, how long has he been in the league at this point? I mean, I thought he was done for. And, what did he play for? He played for Tampa Bay last year, I believe, right? Yeah. Got some run when the injuries went down. But he looks good. And, he's a goal line beast, so they're going to give him the ball on the goal line. He's going to eat up those touchdown opportunities. But Kenyon Drake at 5,400, I don't know. I mean, we're Cardinals fans. We know all about Kenyon Drake. He doesn't really necessarily excite me this week. Do you have a preference either of these guys?
Probably won't play either. It really depends on where ownership is. I'm not paying 6,800 for Peyton Barber.
Yeah, no.
Last week, I mean, he had a great game last week. There's no denying that. But I'm not confident that he's going to continue to do that. I think this is more of a shootout type game. I think you want to try and get if Josh Jacobs doesn't play, I'm kind of focusing on Derek Carr and pass catchers. So
yeah,
it would probably be less Peyton Barber and Kenyon Drake. Although I don't mind Kenyon Drake at 5,400, especially if he comes in low owned. I mean, they're projected for damn near the same amount of points, so may as well take the guy at a $1,400 discount.
So look, Kenyon Drake, and just to put a pin on this, we'll get into the breakdown. With Josh Jacobs out, he had 12 targets. This season, he's had 17 targets, 13 receptions. He's clearly the guy that's getting the targets out of the backfield. Peyton Barber only has like 5 targets, so nothing really to talk about there. We know we have a clear vision as to who's going to, with the game script. If we think that Oakland, I almost called them Oakland, the Raiders are going to be down in this game, it might be a little bit smarter to play Drake. If we think that they can be leading in this game and we build like that, maybe throw some Peyton Barber in. That's if Josh Jacobs is out. Josh Jacobs plays, I'm not going to touch him. I'm not going to touch him at all. There's no reason to. All right, let's get in the breakdown. So as usual, we're doing a deep dive here, guys. So stick with us for the whole episode if you can. If not, you can skip around at the bottom here. I have everything markered for you in sections, so check that out if you have to. But stick with us. Like I said in the last episode, there's still an edge. I firmly believe there's still an edge in Showdown. And if you just really zoom in and start looking at some of these really, backups, third strings, fourth string guys, you can really find an edge. So let's get into quarterbacks here. Justin Herbert, 11.2K. Derek Carr, 10.8K. I'm afraid you're going to have to make a tough decision this week because of the prices on a lot of these studs. You might have to fade one of these guys, right? Yeah.
I think you're really going to be forced to. That is if you want to play a guy like Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, or Darren Waller. Yeah. If you're going to have any one of those guys stacked with one of your quarterbacks, you're probably going to have to fade the other guy. So, I think we all want to get some exposure to those pass catchers. So it's going to be interesting building, right? Because the field's going to end up doing that. I don't know how many people are going to be comfortable throwing in all the high-priced guys and playing, Ingold and, Zay Jones in the same lineup together. So
yeah,
I think I think you're going to have to decide which quarterback you want to go with. But I also think, if you look at fading some of the skill positions, you might be able to stack both quarterbacks and
Yeah.
look at some of the mid-priced guys because, Justin Herbert and Derek Carr, they're putting up actual fantasy points. So you
Yeah.
need Darren Waller to essentially
Raw
have
points.
his week 1 game
Yeah.
that where he's getting those insane amount of targets so that he can compensate for Derek Carr putting up 370 yards every game.
Yeah.
And we all know what Justin Herbert can do as well. So I think the way that we're priced, you're going to be forced to fade one of these guys, but you might be able to get different by actually forcing in both these guys and kind of playing some more mid-tier dudes.
Yeah. I think the field could stray towards fading one of them because it's very tough to build with both of them, and there's just not a lot of value that we're comfortable with. I mean, look at the amount of attempts for Herbert here. 47, 41, 38, 4 touchdowns last week. He had one touchdown in each of the previous games. That Dallas game, they could have easily won that game. This could be a battle of undefeated teams this week, potentially. I don't think there's a whole lot of rushing upside for Herbert. I think it's there, but I don't think he's going to be the guy that's really running the ball much. I don't know that I'm going to put any anytime touchdown score money on him this week. But
I'm going to do it because you said that.
Yeah, right. He's probably going to score the first touchdown now, of course. But look at Derek Carr here. I almost called him David Carr. That was almost bad.
And David Carr had to run for his life for every snap he was in the league.
56 attempts, 37 attempts, 43. These guys are going to they're going to pass like a mofo. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt. There's really no doubt. They don't have dominant rushing teams necessarily. They're going to pass the ball a lot. So, in my opinion, if either of these guys get you 25 fantasy points, which I think they can, even 20 fantasy points, you're going to have those raw points, and most likely. I don't know. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. And just kind of looking at the volume, I guess if you're going to prioritize one, I think the guy you prioritize is Derek Carr.
Yeah, I agree.
Even then, it's just so risky. I mean, look at these numbers for Herbert, dude. 337 and 338, and that's really on inefficient passing. If he doesn't throw these interceptions, like who knows where he'd be at in those games, the Washington Dallas games. And then, I mean, even Kansas City, he only threw for 281 yards. Yeah, he had the 4 touchdowns, but he still put up 30 points. So, I don't know, man. I'm with you. I think most people are going to be forced to fade one of these guys. And I think we should kind of try and focus on, building around these guys. I don't want to put either in captain, but the raw points that you can potentially get from these guys. I mean, imagine, what was the total? 51 and a half?
51 and a half.
Yeah. Imagine both guys throw for, if you got 7 touchdowns between the 3 of them and 300 yards apiece, you need both of them to be in the optimal.
Yeah.
And unless Darren Waller or, Keenan Allen have one of their patented, 15 reception games for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns, that's enough volume to get to anyone. So we can grab these mid-price receivers and tight ends or whatever. Yeah. So, yeah, man, I think we got to get both these guys somehow.
I think if you're smart at captain and you go a little bit under the top 3 or 4 price guys, we're going to find out real quick that there's some great options at captain. Hint, Keenan Allen. All right, so running backs for the Chargers. You got Austin Eckler, 9.6K. Larry Roundtree at 1K. Now, this might be one of my favorite value plays on the slate. When it comes to Justin Jackson, I don't know that I'm going to have really much of any of him. He's $200. It's worth maybe in a couple of lineups. If we look at sort of the snap share here, for the season, Austin Eckler is at 64%. Last week, he had 74% of the snaps. We know he's the number one guy. There's no question here. It's all about how much can these backup guys volume-wise get. Now, Roundtree last week had only 16% of the snaps. On the season, he's around 19%. But he's based on what I can see, if they're going to run the ball, they're going to hand him the ball off on the goal line. So you could get a vulture.
Their number 2, man. Like, I'm pretty sure they bumped Justin Jackson, and he's number two now.
Yeah, Justin Jackson is not number two anymore. There's no doubt about it. Roundtree, rookie, looks relatively impressive, and look at that defense versus position there, 32nd. I think Roundtree. I love Austin Eckler today at 9,600. He's incredible. He can run the ball. He can get you the targets that you want. But we got to focus in on this $1,000 guy Roundtree here. So he on the season he's only had 13 rush attempts. Last week he had 4. Nothing really to write home about. He's not really a guy that catches the ball at the backfield. We know that Eckler is that guy. I mean, Eckler has 15 targets on the season with 15 receptions. It's insane. And last week alone, he went 6 for 6. So he's the guy getting the ball at the backfield. Larry Roundtree is the guy that's going to be getting you short yardage stuff and change of pace, running game stuff. So if we think that we can vulture a touchdown from Roundtree at $1,000, I think he's absolutely worth playing. If he doesn't, in my opinion, he's very touchdown dependent. If he doesn't get a touchdown, a guy who's not catching the ball at the backfield he might not pay off. If it's $1,000 wide receiver, I'm more likely to play $1,000 wide receiver. So thoughts on Roundtree here? Are you as high on him as I am?
Yeah, I absolutely am. I think he could easily be an under 10% guy at $1,000, right? And we played plenty of those this season, so it'd be in bad form to break consistency now, right? And like I'm not even worried about what kind of opportunities he's getting, as long as they're not like actually like pass protection opportunities. I mean, he's getting goal line attempts, he's getting involved in the game, and somebody has to spell Austin Eckler. And Austin Eckler can easily play 90% of the snaps, but I don't think they want to. It's a long season. So I don't hate a guy like Larry Roundtree. Now, I'm not going to get into any of the other guys, Gabe Neighbors, Justin Jackson, whomever shows up in the backfield, right? Because Larry Roundtree is their number 2. And again, we have to find $1,000 guy that we're kind of comfortable with. And I mean, I'm right now he's not a bad fit for me. Again, I think you're spot on though, prioritizing a pass catcher. DK is PPR, so if you can get a cheap pass catcher that you're more comfortable with, and then I think that's the area of priority. But if you think Roundtree is going to get those goal line carries, then I think you have to jam him in a couple lineups.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the only reason I have Neighbors still here is he did have I think it was in the fourth quarter there, he did have a target right at the goal line, and he might have scored, but there was a penalty that negated it. So it's worth just mentioning for a guy that's $800 where we need value. He might be like a milli maker, toss him in your lineup, and he might get you 0. It's very possible. I'm not going to play much of him. All right, so let's move over to the other side here. We've already talked a little bit about this. We won't go too much deeper. But look, if Josh Jacobs plays at 7,600, I'm really interested in him. And if he's a game-time decision, his ownership may be super low.
Yeah.
He might be one of those guys that falls in like the 15% range. We've seen it a couple times this year on showdowns where running backs show up super low owned because they're either questionable or there's injury history. And with all of the injuries that we've seen this year, especially in showdowns, DJ Chark, first 3 plays is out. You have almost every single showdown. There seems to be an injury that kind of messes things up. Christian McCaffrey, things like that. So with a guy that's hurt like Josh Jacobs, I think people are just going to stray away from him. If that's the case, I'm going to go a little bit heavier. And by heavier, I mean double the field probably if he's 15 to 20% owned. That's still enough. So let's just talk about if Jacobs plays, or if Jacobs does not play. What are you doing here?
Yeah, man. So I'm with you. If Jacob plays, I'm a hunt. I love Josh Jacobs, especially at that price tag. The turf toe does worry me a little bit. That's actually a random thing. That's what ended Eddie George's career.
That's right.
He had a really bad bout with turf toe and wasn't able to come back from it. So it's definitely something that's terrible. Yeah, and it's something to keep an eye on, right? Because I mean, Josh Jacobs is obviously a running back, but even in week 1, he still had 17 fantasy points, 2 touchdowns. Yeah. So I don't think he's too risky. But if he's out, man, like I don't know if I want any of these backs. Like the only guy don't fight me right now, but like the only guy that I might actually be interested in is Ingold.
Yep.
And the only reason is because he's 1,600, and we know, I mean, I can almost guarantee you that either him or Foster Moreau will have a touchdown on Monday.
Oh yeah, it'll happen. Yeah.
Yeah. If not, it's Derek Carrier. And like, that's John Gruden football. Like, hey, we signed this dude from the practice squad. Let's make sure he gets a touchdown today to fuck everybody's
to fuck everyone over. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, he's what is it like? I don't know. I can't think of a basketball coach who does late scratches. I guess the Lakers, like you never know who's going to end up playing after lock, right? So that's essentially what I'm planning for here. So I think Alec Ingold's okay, especially at 1,600. Other than that, I really just don't give a shit about this backfield, especially if Jacobs is out.
I mean, 1,600. That's a great price, and 7 fantasy points at 1,600. That might just be enough.
Right. Well, and the problem is, he probably won't score a touchdown, but anybody under 2K on this slate scores a touchdown, they will be in the optimal.
I feel like you're right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Kenyon Drake. I think I'll just be middle range with these guys. I'll probably be under the field a little bit. I'd actually rather go a little bit more with Barber because we know we can score those touchdowns. Kenyon Drake gets 4 or 5 receptions for 50 yards. It's just not going to be enough at 5,400. So let's go over to wide receivers. So we got Hunter Renfrow, 5,800. When it comes to targets, he's the guy. Henry Ruggs, 6,400. He's the big play guy. He's the guy that'll get you that 60-yard touchdown. Bryan Edwards, a little bit more of a possession receiver. He kind of like reminds me a little bit of like a poor man's Anquan Bolden at 5K. I know that's kind of blasphemy, but it's just kind of the thing that pops in my mind. Zay Jones, we saw him. Apparently they really love this guy, Zay Jones. He's first guy in, last guy out type of guy. 1,800. We saw him score a touchdown in week 1, I believe, in that overtime game. And you got Willie Snead at 200. I think Willie Snead had a red zone target one of these weeks. It's just worth mentioning because Willie Snead is the guy that always seems to destroy slates somehow, no matter how old he is or what team he's on. So
I honestly don't even know how old he is. Like
he could be 40 or he could be 27. I actually don't know.
Yeah, his picture looks the same as it did 18 years ago.
Well, let's look at the receiving side here. So let's actually talk about snap share here. So Bryan Edwards is the leader in snaps. So he's on the field the most. On the season, he's 71%. Last week, 76%. Henry Ruggs is right around that 60% range. And Hunter Renfrow is actually on the field only 50% of the time. So he's the clear number 3, but when he's on the field, he's getting targets. His target amount this year, he's got 22 targets, 16 receptions. He's got 17% of the target share. And he's got a touchdown. Henry Ruggs has a touchdown. Bryan Edwards actually is the least targeted out of these 3 guys, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. So, which makes sense. He's the lowest price out of all these guys. So I think we all know Henry Ruggs, and we know that he's the air yards guy. He's 24% of the team's air yards goes to Henry Ruggs. Now Waller is at 28%, number 1. We'll get to him in a minute. But
that's because he gets 8,000
targets. Exactly. So look, do we have to try to force one of these 3 guys in? Like I don't see a game where each one of these guys isn't going to be at least one of these guys isn't going to be in the optimal. I mean, who else is getting? Is it just a Waller like 40 target game?
So I love going 2 of these guys. Again, we kind of alluded it to earlier when we were talking about the quarterbacks, but I'm kind of comfortable not even going the Waller, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams type route and running a 2 stack of Ruggs and Renfrow or Ruggs and Edwards
with
or
Carr.
Renfrow or whatever, right? Like I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest with you, I know the last slate we did with Las Vegas. I apologize to you Californians. I didn't mean to bring up the pain again, but look, if we talked about it in the last slate, and I wanted to know Zay Jones, I wanted to know Willie Snead. I'm open to it. I think this is a great slate to just take random flyers on some of these guys. Derek Carr loves A. Jones. They have a good relationship,
They do.
It looks like they want to get him the ball just based on his work ethic. And as a Remember the Titans fan, like work ethic is. I don't think that was the point of the movie, work ethic, obviously. But look,
not quite.
When you're trying to identify guys with heart like that, I was never a good enough football player. So when I see a good guy with heart out there trying to get some love, like I'm a little biased to those guys,
Yeah.
and I think Zay Jones kind of falls into that category a little bit. And the other thing to keep in mind is Willie Snead has broken many slates before.
Mm-hmm.
He could easily end up with 2 goal line touchdowns just because, fucking because. So exactly. I'm going to have probably 2 of these pass catchers because I'm going to be so limited on like Darren Waller and probably Mike Williams. So and here's one thing I do want to point something out. If you go back and watch the game film from last week, Henry Ruggs. They just missed that long deep post that they ran against Pittsburgh. Like he gets that touchdown. What does that put him at? I mean, that puts him at he's at another 23, 24 fantasy points.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to keep running that play. It looks like Henry Ruggs is the fastest guy in the field. I think they're just going to keep testing the top of defenses with that singular play. So don't be surprised if Henry Ruggs ends up with a 60, 70-yard touchdown. And because of that, I actually think Henry Ruggs makes and his price. Actually, all 3 of these guys, captain. Hunter, Bryan Edwards, and Henry Ruggs, I don't mind playing any of them at captain, and I'm probably going to end up doing it a decent amount.
Yeah, it's scary. But these are the kind of guys that you want to play at captain. Maybe not so much Hunter Renfrow, although he can rack up a ton
of receptions.
I mean, look at this. Well, it's not bad for a guy that's not really touchdown dependent. He has 1 touchdown this year, 9 targets, 7 targets, 6 targets. He's always getting above 50 to 70 yards ish. He could be a solid middle of the road guy that allows you to fit in like 3, maybe 4 studs.
I mean, if he has 15 points at captain, which seems to be like kind of a decent high median projection that we can give him. If he had 15 points at captain, that price might be enough to actually allow us to have Justin Herbert and maybe even Keenan Allen on the other side.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know, bro. I think we should try and build with them a little bit at captain when we get to that part. But I'm with you on that, man. I think any one of these guys is decent, and Hunter Renfrow is probably the riskiest for me, just because to your point, he doesn't see the field quite as often. But when him and Derek Carr kind of get in rhythm, like we've seen what happens. Like he will just keep. He can end up like Darren Waller, right, with these like ridiculous amount of targets.
Yeah. Hunter Renfrow in cash. That when we build our cash lineup, he's going to make it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards. I don't have a problem with Renfrow in tournaments. Obviously, I'm just saying Renfrow just has such a higher floor, but maybe his ceiling just isn't quite there.
Agreed.
When it comes to Ruggs, you throw him in a captain. Even Bryan Edwards, I think Bryan Edwards is going to have a breakout week. We've seen him involved. He just hasn't necessarily had that one week that makes us all excited.
He had some pretty big plays at the end of the game last week.
Yeah, he did.
That's the kind of stuff that gets you involved in the offense. So
exactly.
I'm with you.
Exactly. I mean, the targets aren't great. Like I said, he's like the least targeted guys out of all 3 of these guys, but that could change. We're only 3 weeks in. That could absolutely change. So I think I'm going to do like a rule. If I don't end up hand building, which I probably won't this week because it might be too hard. It just might make too many tough decisions to make. I'll let the optimizer do it for me. But I might have a rule that fits in 2 of these guys. And maybe like half my lineups, and then I'll remove that rule and then try to do another half without it. Okay. Anything else to add here? Who's your favorite guy here? Gun to your head.
Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, I agree. But keep an eye on Bryan Edwards. I think he'll be the lowest owned guy out of those 3 guys.
100% agree.
So, all right. So this is where we get juicy. Mike Williams is at 10.2K. I love Mike Williams. I'm one of his. I have a ton of him in best ball. I've always been his number 1 fan because we know his upside. But at 10.2K on a slate like this, I don't know that I can get there. I'm actually very comfortable unchecking Mike Williams unless he's at captain. I'll put some of him at captain, but I might uncheck him. I'm not suggesting you do that, but we're going to have to make tough decisions. And I'd rather make a hard, firm stand on one guy that I think maybe is a little overrated and overpriced. He's not going to continue. He's not going to continue to score 2 touchdowns. He's not going to continue to score a touchdown every game. I just don't see it. And look at Keenan Allen's price at $8,800. I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? $8,800 for Keenan Allen?
Yeah.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, man.
This is the definition of recency bias.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree with you. The only thing that'll change my mind on this is if everyone's like Mike Williams is too expensive. We're not playing him.
Yeah.
If he comes in like under 25% owned, then I will probably do my damnedest to get double the field on that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see it happening though. I think he's going to be. Yeah.
He should be pretty popular.
I think he's going to be pretty popular. He's been crushing, and he could absolutely have another 2 touchdown game. But I would rather just focus in on I'm not comfortable fading Waller. I'm not comfortable completely fading either of the quarterbacks.
Right.
This is the only guy that I feel comfortable. I wouldn't use the word comfortable, but I feel like it is what it is. If he goes out and has a big game, it's okay. It is okay.
If there's one person too that I think could just lose time because of a weird injury, it's Mike Williams.
It's Mike Williams.
He could go pull a hammy warming up.
Mike Williams is the kind of guy in the first quarter, he goes to the tent and we don't see him the rest of the game. I hope that doesn't happen.
No, he's a more hurt Mike Evans, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
So Mike Williams will go in and try for a 7-yard fade in the red zone, end up missing it, come down, fall awkwardly, and be out because he's having back spasms, and he'll be out for 6 weeks.
Yeah,
this is the stuff that happens to Mike Williams. At that price, it's really scary.
It's scary because you're gonna have to fade like Waller or a quarterback.
Right, and he's not Christian McCaffrey, right? We're not going to just take the risk on him because he's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Look, if you can get to him, get to him. I'm not saying don't play him, but of all people at that price tag, when we're talking about fading someone, I'm more comfortable fading him.
Exactly. Now look at Keenan Allen here. I mean, look, you see some red there just because he's priced up, but 22, 17, 19, 12 targets, 8 targets, 13 targets. 8, 4, 9 receptions. The only reason why he isn't priced much higher is because he doesn't have the touchdown volume that Mike Williams has. But he has had a great year this year, and we know he's the number 1 wide receiver here. And I'm confident that he's, for cash, I'm playing him all day.
Yeah,
and tournaments. All over the place. Too.
Yeah, dude. I mean, if he converts some of these other targets that he has too, even without touchdowns, you're talking about another 2 receptions for 30 yards, right? And we're still pretty close to the same output that we're getting from Mike Williams.
Yeah.
Now you add a touchdown to any of this, and he's light years above Mike Williams. Well, not light years, slightly higher output. But at 8,800, it just seems like a no-brainer. I'm not going to overthink it.
Yeah, 8,800. He's great for captain. He might actually. As we get closer, he might be the third highest owned captain. It's possible.
It should be similar to a Tyler Boyd situation.
Exactly. It's just such an obvious. It's so obvious, but there's no real injury. Like the Tyler Boyd thing was because of the T. Higgins injury mainly, and in this case, I just think he's mispriced. I think he should be in the 96, 98 range.
Well, and I don't know what it shows on that side, but they're literally projected for the same amount in RG.
Yeah.
So if 1 for 1, you take the cheaper guy. Unless Mike Williams is 15% owned, then I'm going to try and get up there.
So Keenan Allen, 85% of the snaps this year. Mike Williams, 74%. And a guy we haven't talked about yet, Jalen Guyton at 66%. He's 2,400. I actually don't mind him at all. He gets involved with this team. He's kind of the forgotten guy because he doesn't really have any big plays. But excuse me, but. This year he's only got 8 targets, 5 receptions. Hasn't really done much. He's got 2 red zone targets though, so he converts on one of those, and we're talking about a whole different. We're talking a whole different thing here with Guyton, and his price is going to be a lot higher. So, Guyton is one of these value guys that I don't mind. Excuse me, taking a few flyers on. Josh Palmer 400. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to go there. I don't think so. All right. Let's go to tight ends. This is your segment here, man.
All right. Well, I'll make it real easy here.
Here it is. That's you.
Yeah. Got bored the other day and made this. So, and of course, this is actually before the Thursday night game too with the Zoma. Yeah. And the irony of it is I didn't even end up with the Zoma at captain. I went the other side.
Yeah.
But anyways, tonight is probably not going to be that night. Although, I'm not going to be too crazy here, but I don't mind Jared Cook. I do think that there is opportunity that he could be a reasonable captain.
Dude, we've seen Jared Cook. This guy's the man, dude. He scores touchdowns.
Yeah. Bro, he could go out there and get 100. We've seen him. Like, I wish this was a slate against the Cardinals. Like, I just throw him in the captain, jam him in all day long.
He had 7 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
I know he's on a different team. I get it. But he's 4,400. He had 7 touchdowns last year.
That different team didn't have Drew Brees, though. Like, wasn't he hurt most of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, you still had either Taysom Hill or... Was it Taysom Hill? I don't know. Either that or Drew Brees just didn't look like a normal person, right? But it was a pretty impressive season given the quarterback that came out of New Orleans.
Yeah, so he's a good flex option. And I'll take a couple flyers a captain with him, because at 4,400 you jam him into captain, you can get everybody you want. So Parham is interesting. He's 1,200. He's another value guy I like. Yeah. He has 1 red zone target, and he had a touchdown call back like 2 weeks ago. Only reason I bring that up is opportunity and showdown. It's important. Even if these guys get touchdowns called back, they still were set up to score a touchdown, and somebody else messed up. So Parham at 1,200, I'm going to sprinkle in. I don't mind having multiple tight ends. I think that's one way to get different. It might be maybe not the smartest thing to do, but like Cook and Waller, Parham, Waller, that kind of thing. I don't hate that at all. So thoughts on Parham?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I got old Donnie Jr. in a bunch of best ball too. Like, you can get him in the last round and it's fine. I don't mind Donald Parham. Here's the thing, dude. When we don't want to overthink this. When we have a quarterback like Justin Herbert and you got a guy who's performing as well as Derek Carr has this year, right? You need to take flyers on some of these pass catchers. A great quarterback or a quarterback who's playing really well makes the rest of the team better. Obviously, right? Like, this isn't rocket science here. So I think that opens up opportunities for guys like Donald Parham, and that attitude is infectious, right? You start getting your periphery players excited. They're gonna go out like, hey, cool! I finally got an opportunity. Let's go out and turn this into something. And Donnie Jr. is a pretty talented guy. So
yeah.
I love him. There's just as much room for Jared Cook to maybe have some limited snaps because he's getting older, right? He could be getting a little anxious because it's getting into the season here a little bit. We don't know his health is 100% at this point. Dude's been in the league for a decade and a half, so we could start to see the young guy start to get some more volume.
And he's a former XFL guy.
Is he really?
Yeah, he crushed it in XFL. So
which iteration? The one from 15 years ago?
No, not quite. I was like, 2020.
Maybe he's not as young as I thought. Anyways, last piece on him, $1,200. It's not risky.
So Jared Cook on the season is 69% of the snaps. Parham overall in the season 47, but last week he only had 28. I don't know why. Could just be a game script thing. Only 2 targets for 1 reception this year, so it's risky. He doesn't get a lot of volume, but at $1,200, I think I'm just gonna have a group of these guys that I might try to force in. Limit them to like 10% or less, and just try to get them all in. All right, so let's go to the other side. Not gonna be a whole lot to talk about here.
This would be some groundbreaking analysis.
So the best tight end is Foster Moreau, right? Look, $1,400 for Foster Moreau. I like him again. I like him as well. But we all know that Darren Waller is the man here, and his targets have gone down slightly. He started out the year absolute on fire. That first game against Baltimore, 19 targets, but he's still getting about 7 targets a game. He's just missing out on those big plays and the touchdowns. But his air yards are there. They're throwing him the ball. They're giving him opportunities. He's just not converting on them. And, you get Darren Waller at 9,200, which is super low for him. He's usually over 10K. You get him, and I mean, look at that. 10.8K, 12K, 11.8K. Now he's down to 9,200. If you get him in your lineup and he scores you 11 fantasy points, it might not be enough, but he has a high floor. He's going to be another one of my cash plays and tournament plays. And you throw him in at captain. I think his captain ownership will be a little bit lower simply because, first of all, I think everyone's going to try to fit Chargers in the captain mostly. So if you just play a Raiders captain, you might be a little bit different there. He'll be the highest owned besides Carr, obviously, at captain on this team. But 9,200, man, you could do decent in the flex. So Waller, you just got to play him, right? Just be above the field. I'm going to be above the field with him.
Yeah, I'm going to try and get a decent amount of them. The only thing that may take me off of them is how many stacks that I have of like Ruggs, Renfro, and Edwards, because I do want to try and get a couple stacks with two of those guys, right? Yeah. So that means I'll probably be coming off of Waller a little bit. But no, to your point, man, I think he's also an excellent captain play. Shocking, right?
Yeah, shocking.
But, yeah, no, I think he's an excellent captain play. I think people are going to sleep on him. The obvious choice, no spoiler alerts, but like Keenan Allen is going to be one of the more obvious captains.
Yeah, big time.
And honestly, this isn't a scenario where it's all that bad of a play anyways, unless he's over like 15% at that spot. But, if Darren Waller comes in under 10%, then I'll probably shift a lot of my focus over to getting to him at the captain spot.
Yeah, I think he might. I think he might come in under 10%.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm going to keep an eye on because
he's only $400 more than Keenan Allen.
Exactly, right. So it's if that's the case, and again, you're going to start seeing people like kind of just drop down to Keenan Allen because it makes more sense. So
yeah,
if we lose ownership off of Darren Waller, then again, like I think I'm going to start getting a little bit more exposure to him. But beyond that, or what were you going to say?
Sorry. I'm just going to jump in with some numbers here for Waller. 33 targets, 20 receptions, 25% of the entire team's target share goes to him. And when it comes to snaps, he's on the field about 90% of the time.
Now, see, that is a little bit concerning, though, because 19 is from one game. So that means he went from 19 to 7 and 7 as an average, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 19 targets. So.
Yeah, 7 and 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something to keep an eye on. We're not used to seeing that kind of change when it comes to his target share. He probably should be close to 12 to 15 every game, right? Like it's like having DeAndre Hopkins on your team or Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill. Like these guys should require your offensive game plan should be, I don't give a shit, throw it to him 12 times.
Yeah, and I think the only reason why his targets have gone down is because it's like who else are they going to throw to? I know we talked about the wide receivers and they're pretty good, but everyone knows where the ball's going. And if Derek Carr is throwing the ball 40 times, they're going to just double up Waller, maybe triple up Waller.
That's fair.
It's like Mark Andrews. Everyone kind of knows that he's the number one option there, and everyone just kind of doubles up on him and they focus in on shutting him down and just assuming that everyone else is not going to do well for that team. It's the same thing here. So Foster Moreau actually it's pretty good, 55% of the snaps this season. As a backup tight end, that makes me really interested in $1,400. He's got 5 targets, 3 receptions. Nothing to write home about, obviously, but when it comes to red zone targets, he does have a touchdown this year. He has 1 red zone target for a touchdown. So let me pull up his numbers here. So week 2, he came out and had a touchdown against the Steelers. So I'm interested in Moreau as well. What about Carrier? Yes. Any interest in him? $200?
Probably not. Not a lot of teams are going to carry 3 tight ends going into game day, so we need to see if he's even on the active squad.
Yeah.
If he is, then I might have a little interest at $200 because there's a good chance that you can end up with some bullshit catches.
All right, so we're going to go to kicker here. Now, I actually am interested in Daniel Carlson. He's 9 for 9 this year. I think he has, a bunch of made field goals in a row. And look at his numbers here. We're usually not talking about kickers, but 13, 17, 11. On a slate like this, you get a kicker with 17 fantasy points. You're going to have him in your lineup, especially at 3,800. Right?
Yes. Now, the reason, my reason for wanting kickers might be a little bit different than what you're looking at here. My reason for being interested in kickers on a slate like this, they're going to typically sit around 25% ownership, probably a little lower.
Yeah.
This is going to be a competitive game. The offenses are going to need to take the points when they're in position. I know that we see the analytics side of things start to play in, more teams starting to go for it on fourth and short. But this is a division game. I don't know how crazy either team is going to get when they get into field goal opportunities. And with the what is it, the spread is 3.5 points.
3.5, yeah.
Yeah, that implies that a field goal is likely going to be the difference. So I'm comfortable with it because everything points towards this needing all the offense you can get, which means we're not going to have that 14-point differential where one team just stops kicking the ball.
Yeah.
So yeah, bro. And again, like pricing's a little efficient on this. So I don't know where I want to go for value. And if I can get 3,815 points, that's fucking awesome.
When you got guys like Prater, Gano, Tucker, I'm not going to put Carlson in that yet, obviously, but he's, when you have a guy that's making all his field goals, 1 or 2 extra field goals can change everything as opposed to missing one. So, look, I'm just going to be a little bit higher on Carlson this week than I typically would. Let's look at Vizcaíno. Yeah, I don't know anything about kickers, man. Nothing really to write home about. I think you just be along with the field. I'm usually way under the field, but I think this week I might just kind of be right around the field because there's just when we're building, we're probably going to find out that that last spot is going to be like 4,200 or 3,900 or something, and we're going to have to just maybe fit them in more than we're comfortable with. So defense, I don't know.
No thanks.
Can Justin Herbert throw a pick six? Yeah. Can Carr throw a pick six? Yeah. He threw a pick six to the Dolphins on the first drive.
And they still scored like 35 total points. So they just decimated whatever Miami's score was.
Yeah. So I don't think you need to really mess with defense. I don't think that they're going to actually, 2,800 and 3,200. There's so many other options that are like a third of the price that I'd rather go with in a game like this. So I don't think there's any reason to prioritize them. I really don't.
Now, hold on. If we start to see line movement, where the total starts to come down, then I might start to pay a little bit more attention just because these prices are so low. But that's it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. All right, so our fate of the night here. When you text me, I was just like, all right, I get it. I mean, I understand, but for me, I'm gonna fade Mike Williams, and R.I.P. if he scores 2 touchdowns. It is what it is. But
yeah, and my fade, like when I say no, like I think it's going to be so lineup specific just because of how pricing is. So like everybody's going to be like equally faded in my lineups.
Yeah.
Now, just looking at how this goes when we go through the builds here, there's a good chance it's going to end up being close. Probably Mike Williams just because of what he's priced at. Yeah. But that's what I mean by no.
Yeah, and I get it. I was almost about to say no for me too, but that's not entertaining TV here. All right, let's get to our captain choice.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
We're crowning their ass. Favorite tournament option here, Keenan Allen, no surprise. Darren Waller for me. Do we really need to talk much about why here? Besides the fact, I mean, look, they're priced well. They might be higher owned. Keenan Allen's probably going to be high owned. I don't know that Waller will be, nearly as high owned as Allen, even though he probably should be. So
I do have one thing I want to say. So when we start to build, what we're going to realize, though, is that even with Allen at captain, you're probably going to want to stock with Justin Herbert. And if you don't, you're going to end up with Austin Eckler or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't build 3-3s, especially in a slate like this where everybody's going to be building 3-3 to get kind of a balanced exposure to all the offensive players.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't do that. So when we go to do this, we're going to be forced to run 2 4s with Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert, and then have 4 Raiders. So as we get closer to Monday night, I might end up closer to Waller than Allen because I'm going to be running 4 stacks for the team that is projected to as the underdog, right? Vegas is going to try and stay in this. So I don't know, man. Like, I'm kind of torn between the two.
I really think prioritizing the passing game in this game, that's not a bold take. Besides Austin Eckler, obviously, Eckler, we haven't really given him a lot of love. He's probably my third favorite play on this entire slate.
Yeah, but to be fair, I don't think anybody wants to hear us talk about normal superstars, right? People are trying to figure out whether or not they should play Foster Moreau.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're not going to spend 20 minutes talking about Christian McCaffrey. There's no reason.
Please do not get us wrong. Like, obviously, these guys are the best NFL players in the league. So play them. That's why we're not talking about them. That's an underlying assumption that Austin Eckler's good.
So this is, as of now, this is like the no settings opto, and I don't hate this.
I'd probably run that, bro.
For a cash lineup, I don't hate this. Really, I really don't. Renfroe, Waller, we talked about all these guys as like a good cash option, and maybe this is even a decent single entry option, because I don't think Roundtree will be very high owned. He's probably going to be around 10% or something like that. So, not a bad way to start your builds here. So, who do you want to start with?
Let's leave Keenan Allen in the captain's spot.
Okay. All right, so Herbert.
Let's throw in Herbert. Let's throw in Carr. I just want to start with showing how difficult this is going to be, even with Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
And then, I guess let's throw in Waller just to show.
Yeah.
Right. So this means we have to go down to Zay Jones. And then what, Roundtree?
30. Carlson.
3,800.
Carlson.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
I'm okay with Dan Carlson. That's a little bit better than I thought we were going to get.
2-4. Yeah, just like kind of what you were saying.
Yeah, but this is exactly what I'm saying, right? You're running into this 2-4 situation. Now, this is good for deeper GPP tournaments with a lot of entries, because this doesn't necessarily seem like, it seems kind of counterintuitive, right? If we think all the fantasy points are coming from the Raiders, why don't we have one of them in the captain spot? But this could easily be, we're capturing all the offense from Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
And then Keenan Allen just being the primary guy. So I don't hate this.
So you could also do something like, I guess Foster Moreau is like the lowest I'd go for Vegas. And then that leaves you 4,200. It doesn't really do much for you, actually. You're still in that kicker range. You can't quite get up to Jared Cook at this point. So if you go lower, you go Larry Roundtree. This turns into a 3-3 here if you throw in Jared Cook. Actually, no, it doesn't. It's a 4-2. Yes.
Well, but that's still a manageable 4-2. I don't hate this.
Yeah.
This is actually solid. This is what I was trying to get to, right?
Yeah.
Because now we have Derek Carr and Darren Waller, which is a solid run back. And Herbert, Allen, Roundtree, if he steals a goal line touchdown, Jared Cook can end up with he's Jared Cook. I like this. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I don't hate
What if we come off Waller? Let's go down to Henry Ruggs.
Okay. It's going to leave us a decent amount here on the bottom end. Leaves us with 8,400. So we can punt. We can go high and then punt. We can do... let's do what we were talking about, dude. Let's do Bryan Edwards or something.
Let's run Bryan Edwards. I like it.
3,400. What does that do for us? Defense, no. Jalen Guyton, so we have to go down a little bit, which is fine.
I'm okay with Jalen Guyton, actually.
Leaves about 1,000 on the table. So let's try this, actually. So in this situation, we could do either. We could do Edwards or Hunter. Yeah. Still leaves us with the same options. It doesn't really do much for us. So in a situation like this, I'm just going to rotate those guys out. And then I'll also switch up, Ruggs and Bryan Edwards. Something like that. That leaves us 4,000, so we can throw the kicker in from either team.
Carlson. Yep.
Yeah. So I really love what you said about this. Makes a lot more sense now. Having Carr with two of his wide receivers is not going to be popular. It really isn't. It just really isn't. So what if we did this?
This is sexy, man. Like I don't mind. Like because we know Keenan Allen's going to be chalk as hell at captain, right?
Yeah.
So if we can have both quarterbacks and not necessarily have to run Darren Waller or Mike Williams, I think that's what's going to be able to save us here. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm still going to have this build with Darren Waller somehow.
So let's try this. Let's take Herbert out just to see how this goes, and let's put Eckler in.
Fine with it.
5,600.
If we're doing this, I think we should try and get back to Waller, though.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, we're not going to need to be as crazy. Let's put Waller in. 7,200. So can we do one? Let's do one wide receiver. Let's do Brian Edwards, just to start. Leaves us with 2,200.
Put in Foster Moreau.
Yeah, or Zay Jones or Alec Ingold.
Yeah, let's go Zay Jones. Foster Moreau doesn't kind of work with this. We have him the backup tight end in there too.
I mean, that's an all-out onslaught. Derek Carr's going to throw the ball 40. Oh, sorry, I just scrolled up there. Derek Carr's going to throw the ball 40 times potentially. Those targets got to go to somebody. So, having three of his pass catchers.
Yeah, and if you're not comfortable with this, I mean, come off Brian Edwards, go to what's his name, Jared Cook.
Yeah.
Right, and then you got a 3-3 going here, and it's not as crazy if Justin Herbert throws 3 touchdowns. Like, he could still only hit 200 yards, and Jared Cook grabs one of them. Keenan's got 2.
Yeah.
Right, and then what does that leave us with? 2,800. So again, we're back into that range of
Guyton,
Zay
Jones,
yeah, Moreau, Ingold, whatever.
Yeah. And you just rotate guys out.
Yeah.
Let me see if we can actually get Henry Ruggs in here. We should be able to comfortably. That's $800. I don't know about that.
Roundtree.
He's 1,000.
Oh yeah, you're right.
There's really nobody that low. I mean, Willie Snead.
I don't mind Willie Snead or Joshua Palmer actually.
Yeah, let's go with Palmer.
This is for sure. You gotta scroll back up again.
Yeah, sorry. There you go.
No worries. It's a fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's because it's anybody who doesn't use Reddit runners. They have the list of names all the way down.
Yeah.
But this is just in the top right hand corner.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't, and it's not. It doesn't stay locked.
You can't separate them. Yeah. Anyways, nobody gives a shit about that. But look. Jordan Palmer, Jason Palmer, Jesse Palmer, I don't know, one of those USC quarterbacks, like Carson Palmer, they'll be fine. And they're eventually going to end up getting him some run. If Mike Williams, we're fading him. So maybe he does get an injury and you guys are okay adding in one of these other guys.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate.
Well, hey, it's true. I mean, look, if Mike Williams doesn't do anything and he doesn't end up in the optimal and you fade him, there's an opportunity for Jalen Guyton and Palmer.
Right. Somebody else is picking up that volume, right?
Yeah.
I'm good on Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
You want to run over to Waller?
Let's go to Waller and see what we can do with him. Let's see if that. I like Keenan Allen. These builds are pretty nice. I really do. You still got to make a tough decision.
Well, we kept landing at 2,800. So with that said, I think that we're still going to be able to get to our value plays with Darren Waller at captain.
It could be the same exact builds or similar builds with a lower ownership at the captain. All right, so Derek Carr, let's try to fit in Herbert here just to start. We got to go with Keenan.
Yeah.
Or Eckler, either one. It leaves us with 5,400. So the lowest we want to go probably is comfortably is probably that 1,000. For that last spot, probably $1,000. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, comfortably. We could go with these $800 guys or $600 guys. I just don't love them as much. So who do you want to jam in here? We've got a 2-2 going here.
I was going to say Brian Edwards. You just run Josh Palmer again.
Well, I mean, you could absolutely do that. Carr, Edwards, Waller, and throw in Palmer, Justin Jackson.
I still like Palmer.
Willie Snead.
For me, it's Snead or Palmer down in this range.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I know we built 2 lineups with Palmer. I'm probably not going to have more than 1 lineup with him. Maybe more. I don't know. We'll see. But
yeah,
I'm going to spread it out quite a bit. But look, I really like this because I don't want to be like a lot of these people that are probably going to fade one of the quarterbacks. I want to play both of them. I really do.
So what about this? This is going to get a little scary though. Let's come off of Keenan Allen. Let's go to Jared Cook.
Okay.
And that's a massive jump.
So, we can go with Eckler.
Can we?
Well,
okay.
Technically, $200 left. So we're kind of in that
throwing Snead.
Throwing Willie
Snead.
Oh man. Yep. That's stupid as hell, but I like it.
Okay, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Damn it, I forgot to write down the optimal. You know what? Actually, I can do this on my own. Let's see.
I'm gonna pull these guys out here.
All right, so no, dude. I mean, that projection was what 100 points.
Mm-hmm.
The optimal is projected at 105. So you're less than 5% off the optimal.
Yeah.
And when you're building like this, you probably don't want to go more than 12 to 15% off the optimal, at least on a showdown slate.
Yeah.
So that point total, that projection is well within range that I'd reasonably play. So
yeah.
I would probably close my eyes when it came to who was in that $200 spot. But again, what we've been saying in the past couple episodes, if you've been watching this episode shows, is find those random value guys that you're okay playing. If $200 guy gets 0 points, you're not completely screwed.
You can still cash.
You are a $2,000 guy gets 0 points.
You could still cash with that $200 guy not getting anything, because first of all, your lineup is pretty unique, and your overall build is going to be unique. We're able to fit in all these pretty damn good players all in the lineup just because we punted once. And if all of our guys go off, I feel pretty good about still cashing at minimum. So
no, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No. I was gonna ask you, what do you want to do here? You want to build one more line? Let's change up our roster construction here. Let's maybe get rid of one quarterback and let's go middle of the road. Go ahead.
I'm ready. All right, let's go Josh Jacobs.
Yes. All right. I like it. We haven't done it. All right. If he plays, I love it.
Okay. Now, let's see. Let's go to Justin Herbert.
Okay.
Let's throw in Keenan Allen.
Okay.
Let's go to Jared Cook.
42. Dude, this is insane. This is great. So kickers, or you can go way down. So what do we have here? So you can go with Daniel Carlson or this guy, and or you can just go down to Guyton or something. Leave a bunch on the table if you want. But I like it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go back to Guyton real quick. Now, can you go from Jared Cook up to Ruggs? You should be able to, right?
In theory, yep.
No, that's $200.
No, but you can go Hunter
Renfrow. Actually, Hunter Renfrow might be solid for this build, because this is something where Hunter Renfrow could end up with 25 receptions and no touchdowns.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, because we don't have Carr. I love it.
Yeah. And then, I mean, what if you come off Guyton 2,800? Well, we're back into that 2,800 range.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But anyways, whatever.
Guyton,
I don't hate this.
Zay Jones, Ingold, Moreau, Parham, whoever you want. Don't be afraid to leave 1,000 on the table if you have to.
All right, can we build with Ruggs captain now?
Yeah, let's do it. I want to do some weird shit now. I want to do some weird shit.
I think I think my guys right now that I want to do, because I know I'm pretty sure you want to do Brian Edwards. So I after this I got dibs on Jared Cook.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So Ruggs,
Carr,
Herbert.
Let's go Mike Williams.
Okay. Let's see what happens.
And let's go Brian Edwards.
5K, 3,200.
3,200. Throw in
Guyton, Zay Jones. Yeah, this is it. This is what's gonna happen. These are the key guys here.
All right, so you know what? Let's fix this then. Let's go for Mike Williams, or actually, let's start with Brian Edwards. Go up to Hunter.
Okay. Renfrow, 5,800.
It's just gonna more comfortably put us at Zay Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
Now
another one, or Jones, either one, but
yeah, maybe Guyton. I'm not. See, I will automatically default to 4-2.
Yeah.
I'm very. I don't build many 3-3s.
Yeah.
So here's the other thing that we can do here. Let's go ahead and take Mike Williams down to Keenan Allen. Obviously, that's just better.
Yeah.
It just seems better.
Okay. That leaves us. So we got Ruggs, a captain, Carr, Herbert, and Keenan Allen. Leaves us with 9,600 total for 2 spots.
You scroll up slightly. There you go. All right. So back to Brian Edwards.
Okay, Brian Edwards, 5K, leaves us with 4,600.
600. Jared Cook.
I
like this.
All right, when you see me busting my phone out, I'm taking a photo of it. Hey, not bad. Ruggs is nice. Ruggs is nice because we know he's got that upside. We know he can catch a 70-yard bomb and just break the slate.
If Ruggs has 20 fantasy points, he'll be the optimal captain.
At that price, absolutely. You would think so. All right, let's do Brian Edwards and see how that is, and then maybe we'll wrap it up here.
Spoiler alert: these price ranges here are going to be pretty similar, right?
Yeah.
Notice how on our other builds, right, we kept coming to the 2,800. That seemed to kind of be the sweet spot. So when you're going back and building your shows through Monday night, they kind of use that as a way to determine your captain.
Yeah,
you don't necessarily need to punt so low that you're just leaving all this salary on the table.
Yeah.
You might be able to find the middle ground between two guys, like building with Brian Edwards right now. We may end up to a spot where it's similar to 6K being left over in that last spot, where it's just not
reason.
There might not be upside into doing it, and that's why we're doing this and building this way.
Yep.
All right.
So Eckler. Oh, you know what? Here, watch this.
Oh, shit,
watch this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm doing here?
I knew it. Dude. There you go. Oh, dude. See, and here I'm very wrong. I love this lineup.
All right. So Brian Edwards. I love Brian Edwards at captain.
Yep.
So that leaves us 2,100. That's Zay Jones. Dude.
Yeah, Zay Jones, Foster Moreau, Parham.
Any of those guys.
Yeah, literally anybody.
Phone out.
Yeah, I like this one too.
And look, Brian Edwards at this price with all those studs in there, he doesn't have to be the highest scoring guy on the field. He doesn't. As long as you get those other studs right, you should be okay. We're only punting at one position, minus a weird captain, but
3% owned too.
Like maybe less.
Brian Edwards and Zay Jones. I mean, he'll be 4% owned.
Yeah.
So both guys catch a touchdown, you're golden.
Dude, that was actually fun. I was actually not looking forward to building lineups because it just didn't seem like it was going to work out. But I'm excited for this matchup now. I really am.
Yeah, man. Me too.
All right, so bold take. Who's your $2,400 guy or lower that you think can score tonight? What do you think is your favorite?
My favorite? Well, it sounds like it's going to have to be Zay Jones. But I like Zay Jones or literally any one of these random dudes from Oakland.
And look, don't forget about Roundtree, guys. I know we didn't really use him a lot, but like instead of Zay Jones, I'd go down to Roundtree in a situation like this, or you can just mix those guys up.
And don't be afraid to leave. You're going to leave salary on the table. I think we maybe had two lineups that used all the salary, and we're doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
We're not using all our salary. Everyone's going to be trying to max out their cap.
I don't know how low owned Roundtree will be. I mean, what do you think? Do you think he'll be under 10%? He's the backup running back. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be under 10%.
I think he's my choice for a low owned guy that's going to score a touchdown.
Guy who shouldn't be under 10%.
Yeah, shouldn't be.
I don't mean that from like a fantasy projection standpoint. I just mean he's a backup running back. He's going to get some opportunity.
Yeah, and like I said, he's going to get some goal line opportunity. And look, not that I'm ever calling out an injury, but we know Austin Eckler also has injury issues. So maybe he gets slowed down or something, and now everybody's Roundtree is the number one waiver wire guy, just like we saw with Chuba Hubbard.
Bro, right. we sarcastically touted Tommy Tremble the other night.
Tremble, touchdown, right? I know.
You gotta pay attention. You gotta be playing these random guys. You gotta be willing to do it. If you want to solo, if you want to go min cash, just play the fucking cash optimal and put it in there.
Notice how we just talked about these dudes that no one's ever heard of, because that's really where you separate yourself. So final score prediction.
35-31. We need to start tracking this because I don't think we're close on any of these so far.
Well, I actually. My Jaguars choice was very close. It was 20. Oh, yeah? I had 27 to 24, which would have meant that Trevor Lawrence would have had to throw a touchdown with 0 seconds left to make that happen with no extra point. But I was like, come on.
Maybe I need to think about it a little more because obviously I got it right when I went to go do the parlay, just not here talking about it.
Yeah, I think it's like a 31-28 Raiders win.
Okay.
What's the total? What is that? 59? That's way over. But I could see it happening.
I think this is hitting the over.
Not great defenses here. Nothing really bright home about it. All right, guys, thank you so much. We will be back next week where Ellie and I are both in Arizona. We're going to be in the same room doing shows. Subscribe, help us out. Also, hit us up in the Discord. We're talking news as it comes along. So hit us up there, and we will see you guys later.